Hi, so today we're working on a board that doesn't turn on. It is a MacBook Air 11-inch, actually MacBook Air 13-inch 2013 board. It's an 820-3437. So I'm going to go over a little bit of the troubleshooting process with you, show you a little bit of what I look for, why I look for it, and what it means, and we're going to see if we can figure out the problem. If we can, great. If we can't, we can't. Again, as I say, I do not like to give board repairs more than 20 minutes of time in the basic diagnostic stages because it's really, really easy to spend time on something that you can't get paid for. If I fix this, I get $325. If I do not fix this, I get $0. So, yeah, that's that. Now, as you can see, I have no green light in the charger. So one of the first things that I like to do is I like to find and see if the power rails that I need for the machine to actually work are present. So let's try and look at that right here. So now, I've gone over how to use the board view software in a bunch of other videos, so I'm not going to go over that here and show you how I find out where these voltages are on the board, because I've done it already a million times, and if you have the desire to learn, you'll go back and go through those videos. Because again, I'm going to get discouraged from doing these videos if I have to repeat myself and do the same thing over and over again. So I'm not going to be doing the same thing over and over again. So on a lot of these schematics, you're going to find lists of voltages that are present. And on the older schematics, they were on page 1, 2, or 3. Now it's on page, page 62 of 76, which sucks. Anyway, so here we have a list of different voltage rails, and I'm going to measure and see if I have them. So we have PP bus G3 hot. Let's see if that exists. So I'm going to set my oscilloscope here so you can see a little better. That is the main voltage rail that everything in the machine is going to be running off of, and that's 8.2 volts. It's supposed to be 8.6. That's good enough for rock and roll, as they would say. Then we check PP3V42. PP3V42 is required for the one-wire circuit. The one-wire circuit is what gets you a green light in the charger. So that's an important one to check first. And as you can see here, I have 3.4 volts, which is exactly what I'm expecting. Now I'm going to check for something else. I want to see that the one-wire circuit is actually working. Now, on this model board, it's a little different than on the other boards. There's not a really complex thing for the one-wire circuit. There's simply the SMC is going to talk to the DC-in board, and that's it. There's no logic gate. There's not a bunch of other stuff. So one of the things I want to do is, as I said in a previous video on the one-wire circuit, the one-wire circuit works based on this SMC, BC, AC, OK signal. So I want to see if that's present over here. And let's take a look. So what this does is if the U7100, which is the chip that's required, that's used to create the PP bus G3 hot rail, if anything happens to this chip, it's going to take SMC, BC, AC, OK, and it's going to pull it down to ground. And if it pulls SMC, BC, AC, OK down to ground, you're not going to get a green light on your charger. So what I want to do here is I want to see if that's actually present. I'm going to measure with the multimeter, which unfortunately you can't see since I have adhesed it permanently to the wall. I have a Fluke 15B. It has that little kickstand thing. Here's what happens with the kickstand. A, it always falls out of the back. It doesn't matter how I clip it in, it always manages to fall out. And B, when I'm turning it to go from, let's say, voltage to diode mode, it either falls off or it tips over. And I got sick and tired of it, so I adhesed it to my wall. And my life has been much higher quality since. I'm simply going to read out the value that I get. So when I check SMC, BC, AC, OK, I get a 3-volt signal, which means that part of the circuit is fine. I'm just going to double check it since it blinked there. I'm not sure if that's because I wasn't holding the multimeter properly or because of something else. And it's fine. And this is a new DC-in board. I've already tried the original DC-in board. So now, again, the SMC is going to talk to the DC-in board, so I'm starting to suspect that my SMC may be one of the reasons that this is happening. So I'm going to try looking at my SMC under the microscope, and let's see if we find anything that proves interesting. Let's make sure that my microscope is on. Let's make sure that it's working, because this is attached to that Magewell dongle that I reattached the USB to. Still have a cough. And let's see. So let's get this into place. We're focused, as good as we're going to be focused. And yeah, you can tell from some probe points here that we had some liquid come through here for sure. Some liquid came through here for sure. I'm not sure what those two do yet. We're still in the preliminary stages of looking through. Let's get it in perfect focus here for you. That is not from liquid. That's the wave soldering machine fucking up when they manufactured this. We'll go through a little more. And see, this is one that's pretty interesting because this over here, it doesn't, yeah, that kind of looks like it's missing, don't it? So let's see what that's supposed to be here on the, now I do have to open the board view to show you that. This is the SMC area. So this is the point that's really messed up. It's PP3V3S5. So I'm supposed to see 3.3 volts there. There's supposed to be, let's see, there's supposed to be some type of 3 volts on both sides of this inductor. That capacitor should have 3 volts at it. And let's see what C5001 is talking about. So C5001 goes to this chip by the SMC. So it goes to let's see. Actually, this does go directly to the SMC, not to a chip by the SMC. I'm reading this wrong. And let's see what that reads. Let's get an idea on the voltmeter or the oscilloscope, whatever is easiest to measure with so that you can see. So I'm going to plug this thing in. Let me just get an idea what you see here so you can see my oscilloscope. Okay. Now, over here, whoa. Okay, so that just moved. That's no good. So at the probe point, I have no voltage. Actually, I have voltage that's very intermittent. Yeah, I touch that, I grab this. No, that's not what it's supposed to be. So let me show you what I just saw on the microscope there when I touched that little area. Let me just try to get it into a little better focus for you. Okay, and yeah, when I touch that, it moves and it rips right off of the board. See, that's no good. That's not what we're looking for. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find another one of these boards because I'm going to assume that everything on that line is sodomized. Again, one of the things I said is that these boards cost virtually nothing. If you want to do this as a business, you're not going to be buying this crap off of Mouser.com and waiting 2 weeks for it to get there. That is a complete and utter waste of fucking time. Get dead boards that were not originally liquid damaged. That's important. Don't buy boards that are liquid damaged because then everything you're going to need off of it's going to be dead already. Buy these boards so that you can have these little pieces in front of you. Again, for one of the great things here is I don't have to look up the value of that capacitor, the size of that capacitor, any of all, like the size of that inductor. I just look and I see, oh, look, it's dead. Let's replace. So I'm going to knock all that stuff off of the board. I'm not really going to care too much about it. Okay. Now let's do some preliminary scraping. Obviously that pad is done for. Yeah, let's just clean that up a little bit. I lowered the heat in the heat gun. Hot air thing, whatever you want to call it. And let's just blew some of the flux away at a lower temperature with higher air. Nasty. Okay, just to remind myself, let's see what's on both sides of this inductor. So L5001. So that's going from PP3V42 to that cap. Worst comes to worst, I can just run a jumper wire. And then that's solely going from that cap to there. Okay. I have an idea what my plan of attack is going to be. So PP3V42 underscore G3 hot is here. And then it gets turned into something funny for the SMC over here. it goes to this probe point, which I'm probably just going to bypass, and then goes to that capacitor. So I'm probably going to attach this, probably some kind of solder blob from here to here after I put the inductor over here. One of the things I actually wanted to see is this entire area PP3V42? Because if it is, rubbing along that trace is a real complete waste of my time. So let's see. So let's see what else is attached around there. So if I were to scratch that away, what is that? Is this ground? Just get you in a beeping mode here. Yeah, that's ground. So we're in never mind. Bad idea. Bad idea. All right, I'm slowly getting to the point where I grow tired of ripping away to try to get my pad. So I may just put an inductor there and run a jumper wire. Yeah, so that's what's going to happen here. So I'm going to just take an inductor and put it there. And I'm going to run a jumper wire because that's too far gone from my opinion. If you're into that whole replacing individual pads on a motherboard and spending, 10 or 20 or 30 minutes replacing a single pad, by all means, go for it. I really just want to get it done and move on to the next one. This is not really artwork to me. I mean, you want to do a good job and you want the job to be a lasting job, but again, this needs to be done in a practical manner. So I'm going to put a little bit of flux there because I'm going to have a kind of blob of solder on my ends of my iron. And that means that the flux is going to be gone from it. So I'm going to put that there, and I'm going to blob that inductor to the capacitor that it goes to. I'm going to hold the inductor down just to make sure it doesn't fly away. Okay, so that idea went really, really bad. All right, take two. We're going to run some tiny wires. We're going to ultrasonic this to clean it. And then I'm going to put a bunch of conformal coat on it to stick it there so it can never move away. Make sure to drop something. If watching this doesn't answer the question of why Jessa is teaching the soldering part of the course, I don't know what does. Really. Like this is. No, don't you dare run away, you little mofo. If I had half a brain, I'd really edit this out. But I don't, so I'm probably going to include all this so you can all laugh. But that's the thing with people who do this kind of stuff online. Like they don't edit out when they do really stupid shit, or when they do or when something looks really nasty, or when they fuck up at something. Like they don't edit it. I mean, they edit it, and then you never see it, and then you think that they're just like a genius that gets everything right. And then after you see that, you think, gee, there's no way in hell I can do this. You know, a big problem I'm noticing with the soldering school that I want to do with Jess, a big problem, is that a lot of the people think that you have, you know, you really have to be some type of genius and you need to have this, like, you know, amazing soldering capabilities, and you need to have this amazing electronics experience. And I'm here to tell you that, you know, after you're done with Jess's part of the course, you're probably better than me at it. You know, in fact, if you're not better than me at micro soldering after Jess's part of the course, then that's just kind of sad. Because, you know, after 2 or 3 days of Jessa showing you how micro soldering is done, you should be able to kick my ass. So I can grab PP3V42 from here. So I can grab PP3V42 from this section of the board pretty nicely. But I have to bring it here without touching ground. Lovely. Lovely. Well, that should be fun. All right, so do this. We do a little bit of this. Get some nice solder with some nice flux in there. Yeah, nice job almost ripping the capacitor off of where it's supposed to be. Don't do that again. All right, so we're going to... Come on. Come on. Come on, I know you want... Rusty, nasty, corroded probe point. Come on, you piece of shit. Alrighty. Okay, we're just gonna... This is a really big idea here, so... Yeah. That's probably making some of you guys sick. Yeah. What makes you sick, I find beautiful. Because that's a nice big space to put my wire. This is what we call practical right here. Might as well move that little capacitor that I almost kicked off of the board back into place. Gotta love the new Hacko heating element. Probably a great advertisement for their new irons. Okay, let's get a wire that reaches now. want to make it nice and flat with the board. Flat as can be. So that's that. And the other side of it is going to go to here. Now again, we have to get to the inductor without touching ground. You probably take a good educated guess as to what happens when it touches ground. Nothing fun. Okay. You can always make that a little nicer later. Main important thing is seeing if this actually fixes it. Ugh. All this dust sticks to the end of the nozzle, flex nozzle. Okay, we do that. Tweezers. Oh, tweezers, you were right in front of me. Ah. Okay, so we escaped ground. Now let's see if we've made any progress. It's nice to make progress. No, it dies. So the voltage is at least where it's supposed to be. However, it won't work. Is there any place else that's supposed to go? No. Any other traces that look nasty? Let's see what we get on these two, because that doesn't look very nice. Nothing. Something. Something. But on the actual trace line, see nothing. Something. But on the actual trace line, you see nothing. Okay, so let's reattach those, and let me also show you what it is I'm looking at over here. So, right over here, remember where I had scratched away a little bit before? So this is for SMC, let's see. That's SMC TMS, SMC TDO. Don't ask me what those are for, because I may figure out someday what those are for, but right now I ain't have a fucking clue. Again, you don't know everything. You can't know everything. So on the other side of this resistor, I have nothing. On the other side of this resistor, I have nothing. And I had scratched away over here before because I wasn't really confident in how this looked, and yeah, it didn't look really nice. But I'm pretty sure that these are needed for stuff to work. So let's just scratch away a little bit more over here, around where the line is. Be careful. Don't want to ruin everything. And just wipe it away with a little bit of alcohol. Wipe away the board remnants that we're sodomizing. So again, oh boy. Okay, so that's that. So yeah, that didn't really take a lot of wiping there to actually rip those right off of the board. I wasn't going incredibly hard. At least I don't think I was going. Fucking cold going that hard. So but that very quickly answered the question. Okay, we're gonna. All right, so the top one I'm pretty happy with. Now we got the bottom one to go over. So first thing first, let's just get resistors on there. Just keep scraping away the junk. Okay, and we remove the pad altogether. Beautiful. Lovely, lovely work. Lovely work today. Anyway, I don't really care about that pad since I'm probably going to have to reattach it to that via anyway. So let's find a board. Here we go. Take those two little resistors and put them on. And then we're going to run a wire, or try to run a wire, directly from the resistor to whatever trace piece is left on the motherboard. And that should be fun. Have I said that I hate this new Hacko heating element? Because if I haven't, I hate this new Hacko heating element. Seriously, you turned off. So this thing sometimes turns off when the airflow is too low and the air is too high. But when you have the airflow at 20, it's just sad when you see it turn off. This thing is working like an IOE. Now we just get to sit and wait. And I flicked it off the board. Great. Another one. Another one. Good tools are important. Unfortunately, my FR801 is no longer a good tool. Come on, melt solder. You hit that. So this is a close one now. I'm just scratching off flux, but what I need to do is scratch away at that via, solder a wire to that via, and put it to that resistor. Solder a wire to that, whatever's, once I scratch away that and put it to that resistor. This is not going to be an easy one. We're working a... I'm going to remove away some of the flux that I was using to clean in the area. So heat it. After I heat it, don't let the Q-tip leave anything behind. Okay. That's not really the one I'm worried about. This here is the one I'm worried about because I can't really see much of it anymore. Oh, this is just ghetto that I'm using a paper towel. But whatever. You'll find a reason to troll me regardless of what I use. Hey, paper towel does a pretty kick-ass job. My ESD safe sparkle paper towels that I buy on Amazon. That's what you want to use. Okay. Dry off the area real quick. And now we go into my least favorite part of this job, which is running small little jumper wires that you... I hate jumper wires. They're the worst. I don't get how people can like doing this shit. Turn the air filter up. Need to get a thinner spool. Let's see. I have a thinner spool here, but it's a little old. I'm not going to say over here how old it is because if I do, I'm going to get trolled terribly. Okay, see that? That's what I want. A little bit on there, a little bit on the resistor, a little bit on the resistor. I don't need a lot to catch it. I just need a little bit. I'll make it work with a little bit. Okay, but you know what? I'll go for a little bit more. But remember, don't go nuts trying to make things perfect, because you go nuts trying to make it perfect, you fuck it up. And then you have to live with it. That's the thing with perfection. You know, you go to make something perfect when it's good enough. At least when you're running wires that you can't fucking see. And you go to make it perfect, and then it disappears, or you rip it, or it's gone. I just think about it from the context of having to explain it to somebody. Like, why doesn't this work? Oh, well, the wire, why does it work? Why doesn't it work now when it worked before? Well, the thing is, the wire was actually there, but I needed to make it look perfect. So now you have a machine that's totally dead. I'm sorry. Give Apple $750. Well, what would have the difference been? Oh, well, this little wire that's about a quarter of a fucking millimeter. Well, I wanted it to be aligned right. So yeah, that's what it was. Just think of it in terms of if you were explaining it to somebody that now has to give Apple $750 or $850 or whatever bullshit flat rate they've got going. But when you think of it in those terms, it's really easy to stop being a perfectionist Because the thing is, being a perfectionist, it's not about the customer. A lot of people think that it's about the customer. It's about people's desires to please themselves and things that bother them. I don't mean this in a mean way, but when you do that shit, it's not about the fucking customer. You're doing it for yourself. And when the customer gets screwed over by your OCD, that sucks for them. Really, it does. Okay. Now the next one. Hey, that little resistor tried to move on me, didn't it? Did you see that? I doubt I'm even melting solder with this piece of crap. Okay. That hacko is going to get fired very soon. Stick, mofo. Alright, so now for not wire number 2. Usually I'm not really afraid or shy of moving the wire back and forth to shorten it, but here I am because I'm attaching it to a little via that I have almost none left of. Oh shit. Okay, I know you got. I know I'm gonna look back at this and laugh later, but I have no idea where that wire went. I cannot see it anymore. I went to solder it down and it's fucking gone. It disappeared. It Houdini'd. I think I'm cutting it too short. And then I put it under the microscope and I just kind of laugh at how big the wire is. How unnecessarily long it is. And I think, wow, I'm giving myself nothing. And yeah, I did it again. See how long that is? It doesn't have to be that long. Mm-hmm. By the way, the amount of time I'm taking to do this, just so we're all on the same page, is completely unacceptable. People who are good at this, people who are really good at micro soldering, this is like 5-10 seconds of their time. The only reason this is taking so long is because I'm garbage at it. Just so we're on the same page, because I don't want you to think that if you're going at the same pace as me with this job, that like you're doing it good. I don't want to give you that false hope. If you're moving at my speed, you suck, and I'm sorry, but it is what it is. All right, let's see if we have any change in activity. Before we see if we have any change in activity, remember that wire that I said I was going to put green over so it doesn't short PP3V42 to ground? I haven't done that yet, so let's just move that over so that it doesn't touch ground. All right. tilted so I can see it a little bit. Okay, the 3 volts could go into the SMC where it's supposed to. That pull-up resistor is 3.4 on one side of the line. There on that side of the line. And that's now present where it was not present before. Beautiful. See, the unfortunate thing is that this is still dead. Let's see what else we have here. So there's another line that looks particularly bad. Like that. Check out what that is. And we're going to run a little bit of a wire. And at this point, I'm going to be close to saying fuck this shit because I broke my 20-minute rule 20 minutes ago. See, this could need an SMC replacement. Thing is, when I replace the SMC, I'm going to have to rerun every single one of those little jumper wires, because after I replace the SMC, all those little jumper wires are going to fly off. And also, there's a good chance that the SMC that I take off of a dead board doesn't actually work. There's a good chance that something else is wrong with this, because it's really proving itself to be a complete corroded pile of shit at this point. And ultimately, there's a really, really high chance that this is a total fucking waste of my time. And because of that, I'm going to choose to stop very soon, if not actually right now. Because see, what the thing is with a board like this is, let's say I actually do solve my problem because I just have nothing fucking better to do. You know, there could be another one after that, and another one, and another one, and another one, and you never really finish. You never really actually get done with it, and you got all these other things that you could have done that you didn't do because of one bullshit ass board. And I try to avoid that as often as I can. So now I got a light in the charger. See over there? So I got a light in my charger, but it's dead. And, you know, again, there are probably some things I could do to figure this out and fix it. But we're at 48 minutes and 48 seconds, and all I have found so far is not like it's just one little thing. All I have found evidence that it's never going to end, that there are so many little traces over here that are probably fucked. That it really is getting to be close to the time that I say fuck this. Okay. Yeah, so we got probably, so I just did that one over here. Might as well clean that a little, make it look a little nicer. Even though this is on a board that I'm going to be throwing away completely. Yeah, so we have trace, 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 trace. So this over here is going to sit in the garbage pail. You know what I might do, just for the hell of it? Might reflow the SMC and see if that fixes anything. Get my... Because there may be... Obviously, there's enough evidence that a lot of water got over there, and that water could have caused corrosion under it. So if there is corrosion under the SMC, then there's a good chance that by removing it, that could be in business. Because at least we're seeing improvement. Like again, before I had no light, now I got a light. Light is pretty cool. We're just going to try to get the little corners off of the SMC. Hey, there's fuzz on my shirt. I'm never going to reach that. Yeah, just give up. The fuzz can stay. Kester 951. Definitely get the fume extractor right over here. You should stay out there for a minute. You should stay out there for a minute. You should stay out there for a minute. This I don't like the smell of, so. And it's still dead. So at this point, I'm going to make the decision to say that this is what I call a rabbit hole to hell, and I'm going to put it aside. And I will get back to it when there is absolutely nothing better to do, but only when there is nothing better to do. If there is anything better to do than this nightmare, because again, I'm going to find a corroded trace, I'm going to find a corroded V, I'm going to reconnect it, I'm going to find a burnt component, I'm going to replace it, I'm going to find a burnt component with a corroded V, I'm going to replace it, and you're just going to keep finding it. You're going to keep digging, you're going to keep chasing that little rabbit until you're all the way in hell. I don't want to be in hell, so